Welcome to the Dad and Cole Football Patrol.
That's right, I am Dad.
And I am Cole.
So guys, always an exciting week in the NFL offseason when the schedules come out. So we wanted to jump on and talk about some things that we thought were intriguing about the unveiling of the 2018 NFL football schedule. So let's get into that. Cole, week one, let's just start there. The very first week in the NFL season, what caught your eye?
Chargers Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're starting a season off with an interdivision rivalry, I think that's a good thing. I think both those teams have a rightful claim to that division. I think that division is wide open. I think last year, if the Chargers didn't get so buried at the start of the season, they really would have made the playoffs because they were playing like a playoff team down the stretch. And then with the Chiefs, you have Mahomes. Alex Smith has departed, so you don't know what you're going to get from that team, but it should.
And they were 5-0 last season.
At the start, you're saying, right? Yeah, they started out on fire, so it's going to be real curious to see what happens. Who do you like in that game?
I think the Chargers are to have a better chance of winning because, they have, they're higher in the draft, so, they have a better chance of picking, a better player.
Yeah, so you think they're going to...
the Chiefs can move up and get, someone else that's, better than who they get, because they can always move up, because the Eagles have moved up to get Carson Wentz.
That's true. Teams always do have flexibility to move up and down, but as it stands right now, you're liking the Chargers a little bit, huh? Okay, also in week one, a game that jumped out at me, because I think it's going to be a critical year for both organizations. You got the Cowboys and the Panthers going head-to-head. What's your initial gut reaction to hearing that matchup in week one?
I think the Panthers are probably going to win. They have, Luke Kuechly. They lost Jonathan Stewart, but they have Christian McCaffrey. Thomas Davis.
Yeah, so you're rattling off a lot of the high pro.
And even Devin Funchess and Cam Newton.
Yeah, so you're rattling off all the high-profile guys on the Panthers. I agree. I would like them to win that game in an early season match, but it is such a critical year for the Cowboys. They floundered last year. Dak had a very underwhelming season. Dez Bryant is gone now, so for them to jump out, and it sounds silly to say 0-1 would be like a doomsday scenario for any football team, but I think they need to get wins early just to establish some sort of sense of confidence and assurance.
Who are you going with?
I like the Panthers. All right, now, so another interdivision matchup in week one, Packers against the Bears. On paper, people might say, oh, the Packers got that easily, but I don't know. I think the Bears could be a team on the rise. I asked some questions about the Packers, and I know anytime you have Rodgers right off the bat, you're going to be a contender, but I just have questions about the defense, about the skill guys surrounding Rodgers. What's your initial thought on that week one NFC North matchup?
I think that the Bears are going to have a shot because, in the draft, they might get, Bradley Chubb. And then, they have, Mitchell Trubisky. And they also got...
Did the Bears get Allen Robinson
Yes.
during the offseason, right? So, yeah, they added a legitimate top-tier wide receiver to the receiving corps for Trubisky. So, yeah, I don't think that game is such an easy matchup for the Packers anymore. And I look to see the Bears be kind of a sneaky team on the come-up. And then let's stick with the theme of interdivision matchups for week one. You got the Browns and the Steelers. And I know both you and I have been very intrigued by the Browns offseason so far this year with some of the moves they've been making. Do you think this is such a slam dunk that the Steelers just win this easily in week one?
I am giving the Browns a shot because they got Jarvis Landry, and they're first round. So who are you gonna pick? But I don't think they're gonna pick Saquon Barkley. I think they're gonna pick a quarterback because Tyrod Taylor's kind of getting old.
Well, I think they're definitely going to get a young quarterback to develop, but I think for the purposes of just week one we're talking about, Tyrod Taylor, I would expect to definitely be the starter, but don't be surprised if they come out of the draft with both Barkley and their future quarterback, because remember, they got 2 out of the top 4 picks. But I think bottom line, it's not such a slam dunk that the Browns are going to be a doormat and an easy win to check off for any team that they face this season. All right, last matchup we're going to dig into for Week 1 highlights. Monday night, I think it's an intriguing battle of the West Coast California teams. You got the Los Angeles Rams and the Oakland Raiders. Now with John Gruden back at the helm of coaching, I think this is a very compelling Week 1 matchup.
They have Jordy Nelson, Doug Martin.
Yeah, so Cole, who do you got in the battle of the California teams Week 1? Who's winning?
I'm going with the Raiders because
Ooh.
they have Doug Martin now, but who is gonna be the running back for Tampa Bay? But I think Derek Carr could have some help because Marshawn Lynch he'll be an all down running back, and then the backup Doug Martin he could be the backup's gonna be pretty good no matter what.
Yeah, and I'm not even certain what Marshawn Lynch's status is, if he was on a 1-year deal last year or not. So I'm not sure about that. But to your point, Doug Martin absolutely adds some credibility and some veteran presence, and a little more burst and receiving skill out of the backfield. I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. I don't know that winning in trajectories in the NFL is always a straight line, meaning just because you were good and young that you're just going to keep going upwards and build year upon year. I think the Rams might have a little bit of a tricky year this year. Sometimes quarterbacks, when they're in their second season at the helm, seem to hit a little bit of a wall. I think maybe the league figures some things out about them. I don't know if Goff comes out and just tosses the ball all over the place for touchdowns left and right like he did last year. Look, I like McVay. I like that offense. Gurley is an all-world type of player. I just don't know that they're going to sneak up on teams like they did last year. So I think Oakland, under the helm of John Gruden, could sneak out a Week 1 win here. All right, so guys, now we're going to expand our look beyond just Week 1 and take a look at the month of September. To me, September is a really interesting month in the NFL anymore. I feel like for a lot of teams, it's almost like an extended preseason with the limited nature that guys get to play during the offseason and any actual preseason games. So September, while it's more of a extended preseason and an area to fine-tune offense and defense for coaches, it's also still a critical month, though. Statistics have proven out when teams establish a winning record in the month of September, they have a better chance of making the playoffs. And when teams have losing records and get buried quickly in the NFL season, they have a hard time digging themselves out. So please pardon me while I read from the card here, but I want to fire out some teams to you. And first, let's take a look at teams that had winning records last year, teams that were in the playoffs that we might expect to repeat and get back into the playoffs again. Let's look at their months of Septembers, and I want you to tell me what you think. Let's start with the Super Bowl champs, our beloved Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to be facing Falcons, Bucks, Colts, and Titans. What do those teams mean to you as far as an early opponents for the Eagles?
I think the Titans are going to be middle, and the Falcons are going to be middle, but the Bucks, I think they're going to be middle.
Here's what I'm thinking, and I think we're kind of on the same page. I think the toughest challenge is going to be the first game right out of the gate. But that's the entire league opening game on Thursday night. It's an isolated game. The Eagles have all to themselves against the Falcons at the Lincoln Philly. I think emotion is going to be high, especially if Carson somehow makes his way back. So out of those 4 teams, I think that's the toughest challenge. But I feel like the Eagles are going to have emotion on their side. Then Bucks, Colts, Titans, none of those guys really concern me at all. I think
the Colts are going to be so easy.
Well, it all especially depends on luck. So anytime you're playing luck in Indy, that can be a little scary. But bottom line is, I think it's a very soft opening for the Eagles, and I think you agree, right? So let's take a look now at the New Orleans Saints, a high-powered offense, an improving defense. Bucks, Browns, Falcons, Giants. That seems very soft for me for the Saints. Your thoughts?
That seems so easy.
Yeah, I don't see many challenges for the Saints. Now let's move forward. We're looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tough, aggressive defense. A team on the come up, made some noise in the playoffs last year. Giants, Pats, Titans, Jets, Again, I don't really see that as too challenging an opening for them. Your thoughts?
Just two challenging ones, the Pats and the Titans, but then the rest are just good.
I agree with you. I think 2 out of the 4 could be challenging, but overall not that tough. All right, speaking of the Patriots, let's take a look. They're a team that seems to be in flux. A lot of news coming out that, Tom Brady hasn't committed to coming back and playing yet. I think that's a lot of hype will be there. Gronk, I think, could be a different story. Not sure if he's going to be there or not. Texans, Jaguars, Lions, Dolphins.
It's just really one hard one.
Yeah, I don't really see many challenges.
Just the Jaguars.
Yeah, and as I'm going through these, just a quick general thought. I always thought the playoff teams got like the toughest schedules coming into the following year. So far, I haven't rattled off too many challenging months of September for these former playoff teams. Let's wrap up the good teams from last year with the Vikings. Take a look at their month of September. 49ers, Packers, Bills, Rams. Yikes. Now this seems daunting, and then I'm going to throw in one other. Their first game in October is the Eagles. I'm going to state those games to you again, and I want your thoughts because this seems to me like a potential buzzsaw for the Vikings and their new quarterback, Kirk Cousins. 49ers, Packers, Bills, Rams, and then again starting October with the Eagles.
I think there's just really 2 hard ones.
Oh, so you have a different opinion. You don't see this as too challenging?
The Eagles and the Rams, I just think those are just really the hardest ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Packers could be scary. Yeah, the Bills, you're right. I don't know what's going to be going on or who's going to even be playing quarterback for them.
Yeah.
So they're going to be a team that's rebuilding. But I think the 49ers, week 1, mark my word, I think they're going to be an interesting team that a lot of folks are going to be making as sort of a sleeper candidate for the playoffs. I think they're going to have their hands full week 1. You don't see? You think they're going to handle the Niners and Garoppolo easily?
Well, I think it's going to be like a close game, like maybe 28-21 or something like that.
Okay, so you see a close contested battle between those two. So now let's take a look at some teams that weren't so good last year, but are having some high hopes for themselves, or at the very least are looking to reestablish themselves with a winning season. Okay, so in that mold of teams that are looking to really reestablish themselves, we got the Cleveland Browns. And at first glance, I think this is going to be tough for the Browns, and they're going to need wins early. They have such a culture of losing. So their first 4 opponents in September, Steelers, Saints, Jets, and then Raiders. So the back 2, Jets and Raiders, maybe there's an opportunity. But Cole, they start out the gate with Steelers and Saints. Your thoughts?
The Browns, they're at the Saints.
You're right, that's in New Orleans. And teams don't really fare well traveling into the Dome against Breeze, do they? So wins are going to be tough to come by in the early going for the Browns. Now let's take a look at the 49ers, a team I just mentioned a moment ago that I have some high hopes on, and I'm fascinated by them. Vikings, Lions, Chiefs, Chargers. Yikes. That seems a little bit like that's kind of stacked against their favor there.
It's kind of 3 hard teams.
Well, that's 3 out of the first 4, though. Yeah, your thoughts. Go ahead.
Not the Lions, but the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Vikings. I just think they're like the hardest ones.
Well, and
the Lions, they're not really hard at all.
Well, let me also add this, though, in there. Out of those 4, the Lions are the only game at home. So the Vikings, Chiefs, and Chargers are all on the road for the 49ers. Does that change your thoughts at all here?
No, because I think Jimmy Garoppolo's gonna beat the Lions, but I think he's gonna lose to maybe all the other ones.
Okay, so yeah, you see this like me. This is going to be a tough stretch for them right out of the gate.
In the first place.
Okay, I'll listen better next time. So let's look at 2 more teams last year, losing records that are trying to reestablish themselves. The Cardinals, they got Sam Bradford, who's probably going to be a stopgap team, but they have a new coach. They got the Skins, Rams, Bears, Seahawks.
And just really 2 yikes ones.
I don't know. I think good luck to those guys. I mean, Rams, Seahawks, Skins, Bears.
I just think the Rams and the Seahawks are really hard.
Okay, so you think they got a chance against both the Skins and the Bears? Okay, and then lastly, as far as teams that struggled last year, looking to reestablish themselves, the Cincinnati Bengals, man, they just seem to be like, I don't even know what their identity is, what they got going on.
Except they just have one good player.
Well, who would that be in your
two.
minds? Okay.
AJ Green and Tyler Eifert.
Yeah, Tyler Eifert. I thought Joe Mixon, the rookie running back, had a solid season, promising season last year. So they got Colts, Ravens, Panthers, Falcons. Yikes.
The last three are horrible.
Right. You think they may have a shot with the Colts, but if luck's there, who knows? And then the last three, Ravens, Panthers, Falcons. Good luck, right? Good luck, Bengals. All right, so let's wrap up our schedule discussion talking about one of my favorite days of the year. It's my #1 holiday, and that is Thanksgiving. And kudos to the NFL. They put together an all-time slate of games, so I'm going to read them off to you. We got Bears, Lions, a great interdivision game. Skins, Boys, again, sticking with the interdivision theme. And then lastly, in primetime, another interdivision game, Falcons and the Saints. Sure to be a high-fire, touchdown frenzy game. I love all three of these games. I think they're compelling matchups.
I think the Lions are going to win, and then I think the Boys are going to win, and then I think the Saints are going to win.
Oh, so you like the Cowboys to beat the Skins that day? Out of those three games, which one's the most exciting matchup to you?
I think, the most, sloppiest is the Saints,
Saints-Falcons. Now, what do you mean by sloppy? What do you mean by that?
The most, worst game.
Okay. And then what do you think's the most exciting game?
The Bears, Lions.
Interesting. So that might be a different view than most folks have. I think most would think that the Falcons and the Saints would be the most intriguing. I like where you're going with those because the NFC North is a tough and rumble division, and I agree that the Lions typically do put on a good show on Thanksgiving Day, so you're expecting some fireworks in that old school Bears-Lions matchup, huh? Awesome.
So, Dad, you forgot to talk about Nick Foles.
Oh, my goodness. How could I forget about our beloved St. Nick? So, yeah, guys, big news broke out over the weekend. Nick Foles redoes his contract with the Eagles. He gets a pay raise. And I think what was probably the most uncertain situation for the Birds looming over their heads this offseason has now become fully solidified, and there's ultimate certainty here now. Nick Foles is going to be here. Cole, what is your gut reaction to hearing the news that I know one of your favorite guys is going to be here next year for certain?
Okay.
Yeah, and do you think that this means anything as far as Carson Wentz's health? Do you think this is the Eagles maybe being a little more nervous about Wentz than they're letting on? Or do you think, no, they're just doing the thing that they should be doing, solidifying their roster, putting a proven backup in place, and really just doing what they need to do to make sure they have the best team possible to go on into battle next year?
I was watching a sports show, and Doug Peterson said that he was gonna sit Carson Wentz for the first 4 games.
Yeah, so you think there's a shot that Wentz does sit out for a few weeks. So to you then, this just makes all too much sense. They needed to have Foles, the proven veteran who took them on the ride of their lives last year. They needed to make sure he could be there week 1 to lead the charge. Yeah, I agree. So Nick, congrats to you. Clearly a hard-earned, well-earned pay raise for you. Enjoy, my man. So Cole, I think we should hear from everyone out there. Guys, what are you most excited about week 1 of the NFL schedule? And are there any other games that really jumped out to you on the schedule that we didn't mention? Please do leave a comment. What's the most compelling early going matchup for you? And also, what about your team? Let us know your favorite team and tell us, how does your schedule stack up to you? We think the Eagles kind of have a pretty easy start in the month of September, but we want to hear from you. How's your team's schedule stack up? And guys, please do us a favor. Please do hit subscribe to our channel here on the Dad and Cole Football Patrol. We would love to count on you as active members of our football family community. So please do hit subscribe.
All right, I think that's it, Dad.
Yeah, I agree. That is. Okay, see you guys.